best practice is always so much further and is I almost sometimes say is easier to go for. Like once you have an understanding of how to do these things well, like the NCC minimums are not an issue for you because you're just building to those best practices anyway. So that's always ultimately the best outcome, is to just go beyond them.
Hello and welcome to the Building Psychology Potty, where we talk about better buildings to live and breathe in. My name is Jess Kismet and I am your host. Today on the show, we have a second appearance by Ben Walsham. He's the founder of Arkata and the second ever guest on this podcast. He's back for more, and Ben has leveled up in a pretty big way since January 25 when we had our first chat. His business Arkata has gone from strength to strength since then. Plus, he got married, launched his new podcast Centrifuge, and is about to become a dad for the very first time. Today, we're catching up on life, deep diving into building science, and bringing out the best of Ben's very sharp brain. Ben, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on again. It's a privilege.
That is my pleasure. About to become a baby daddy.
A girl daddy, yep, that's right.
A girl dad.
Oh my goodness.
You haven't made that super public, so I'm pretty stoked to be the one to bring the news to the crowd.
Yeah, it was going to happen, and I thought, hey, why not? Why not do it on Jess's podcast? I mean, what a place to do it. So, I'm stoked to be here. So, yeah, it is appropriate. We're going full circle today. So,
yeah, and she's literally due any minute, right?
Yeah, probably within the next 3 to 5 weeks, I reckon. Estimated due date, or ETA as you will, was like the 6th of September, but I think it might be a little bit before that. Who knows? I don't know. I've heard it's not an exact science, so they can give us dates and it might not happen. So, but no, she's going well. Everything's healthy. Everything's good. So yeah, I'm excited, pumped. I don't know. Nervous, scared, all of the above, really. Yeah. So
yeah.
No, well, it's a great chapter to embark on. So
yeah, I think you'll be a really great dad.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, I mean, how has marriage and fatherhood shifted your perspective on your job, on homes, health, comfort, building performance? Has it had any impact on how you feel about what you do day to day?
It has only really made my conviction just much stronger. So I'm going to go probably harder at it. And yeah, I've never been sort of more convicted in kind of what I do. Never been more obsessed with like what I do. Yeah, like it's like I use that word that way because it kind of is an obsession now, and I love what I do. So yeah, look, it doesn't change. It doesn't change anything. Yeah, like I was saying, it just makes me way more convicted and sort of way more aligned with what I actually want to do. I'm gonna invest in a air quality monitor because now it gets way more personal. Right? Like, I can kind of deal with not having the most perfect air quality, but do I want that for my daughter? Not really. So, like, how do we sort of make our homes better? Like, that's just the question I always ask myself. So,
yeah, how do we make the planet better for our kids and our living environment better for our kids?
Yeah,
it's a big driver for a lot of us.
Yeah, like, I don't know, having a kid is quite an optimistic thing, right? It's like an optimistic action that you hope that the world will be a better place in the future. And so that's just what I do every day. Like, that's why I try and do what I do. And yeah, just to have an impact, you know, and like I was saying, just obsessed right now. So
it gets like that. So let's talk about the NCC, because I'm getting asked a lot and I always refer people to you because it's been a while since I dabbled in the NCC stuff on a day-to-day basis. So I keep across most stuff, but the 2025, I haven't had a lot of brain space to dive into it. And I know that you have had a little more time than me. So because this is what you do day to day. So could you give us a bit of a rundown on what's happening with NCC 2025 nationally, state to state, and particularly for us here in South Australia? We had a 10-year kibosh on the code, which has now been moved back, and everyone's confused. So could you give us a bit of a rundown, please, on what the goal is?
Well, for starters, NCC is absolutely my favorite topic. It is confusing mess, and that is a big problem that we have in the industry, is that it is a confusing mess. And when the professionals who are in it every day are also confused, and well, not confused, but we understand it, we get it, we have to work so hard to get through it. It's not good, right? Because it gets implemented inconsistently, gets policed inconsistently, all those kinds of things. And you can, imagine a big builder or a big company trying to operate across all these jurisdictions. It's just difficult, and it makes you unproductive. So we have the bigger answer to your question is we do have a major problem. And on the 10-year pause, I think South Australia did that, and everyone took note of that. And the entire national sort of cohort has then been like, okay, we need to fix this problem, which is now what we're moving towards, of this modernization or simplification of the National Construction Code. And that has effectively paused us until 2029, which is when we start to get all of these details provided to us. But that doesn't help us in the short term. Overall, though, it will help us in the long term. So I think that there hasn't been any real word on the South Australian particular pause beyond that. Like, again, the government that brought the pause in don't really have a plan, because they're not going to be here in 10 years' time. It's going to be up to you and I to like sort of resolve those kind of problems. But yeah, it's inconsistent, and it's a challenge. Even with the dates that have been brought in, I've got various links that I can provide so that you can share these to your viewers. Victoria, they're already using NCC 2025. So from 1st of May 2026, you could use it. There's a lot of changes for the commercial sector in that code change. Not so much for the residential change, although there's a few bits and pieces. Again, I can provide a bit more of a deeper article that I've provided. Even Be Hype as well have another great article, so I can provide some links to those as well.
That'd be great. I'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Then there's WA, who are from the 1st of May 2027. Tasmania also from the 1st of May 2026. So they're already working under NCC 2025. South Australia, for your viewers, is from the 1st of May 2027. So we have until next year to wrap our heads around that one.
Okay.
Queensland is from the 1st of May 2027. So yeah, there is solid dates on when all these things get brought in. Obviously, each state then has their own carve-outs and changes and things to be aware of. So seeking understanding as early as possible is always the best way, and speaking to someone who knows the NCC and can guide you on where to go is always best. I think, like many people on your podcast since my first appearance have said, like, the NCC is the worst way you can build legally, which over time increases as we sort of get better as an industry at building better homes and buildings. But best practice is always so much further, and is I almost sometimes say is easier to go for. Like, once you have an understanding of how to do these things well, like the NCC minimums are not an issue for you, because you're just building to those best practices anyway. So that's always ultimately the best outcome, is to just go beyond them. Like, don't worry about where that code level sits. Let's just push beyond. And we'll have some code things to sort of sort out. But over time we sort of move towards that higher outcome anyway. But yes, unfortunately, the NCC is challenging. There's no two ways to put it, unfortunately. And that's where, as an industry, we're bringing things together to hopefully be a lot more simpler, because I think it can be, for sure.
Well, that was the point of the pause in South Australia, wasn't it? To give there was an overhaul, or there was a national pause. There was a national pause, and the point of that was to allow AI or something to simplify and streamline the way it was written.
That's part of that. Yeah. That's all part of it. Yeah. How can we use AI to make things better? It's interesting, because if we do that, we probably end up, that's about something that looks like Passive House, right? In terms of simple building design and construction, like we probably end up at a place where that's what best practice is. So yeah, we just need to sort of get our put our boots up and go for it, really. But yeah, the NCC is a challenge, but I can provide lots of links to further information for each jurisdiction, and yeah.
That would be very useful. Wouldn't it be nice if all the builders just built to best practice and didn't worry about the code? Well, you might be out of a job then.
Yeah, but I even said that at the beginning of Arkata. I said if in 10 years' time I could close Arkata because I'm no longer needed, then then the job is done. Like we have done it. Like that's why I have my mission. That's why I started in this place, is because there's a problem. And so if I can be out of a job, then we've solved the problem. And that would be incredible, because we'd all be living in homes that are healthy and comfortable. That would be incredible. Right. So I've always said that, like that was something I said very early on. If I could make myself redundant, then that's great. You know, it is what it is, but we're here, so there's still a problem to solve. Yeah.
I've said the same thing. Wouldn't it be great if one day we were both out of jobs and doing something else? Not really. Universe, I want my job.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this job, because I fucking love this. Maybe I would go back to just being an architect, I guess, and just practice actually designing.
Yeah. We'd find another way. We'd level up. We'd find another way.
We'd find another way to be involved in the industry. Yeah. They're not getting rid of us that easy.
For sure. Now, I'm a bit confused, because before you said the pause, you said something about 2029, but South Australia and a lot of other states are getting this 2025 code next year, 2027. Make that make sense.
Yeah.
But what was 2029? What was that reference? Yeah.
That's the overall, like the big national pause. So basically we won't get NCC 2028, likely. We'll get 2025, and that'll be the last code change. Yeah, 25 will be the last code change until we've had this simplification, and like we've gone through the whole rebuild of the way the National Construction Code works, because that's what it is.
So because
sorry.
Is that because 2025 was pretty much written by the time that pause happened?
Yeah, it was pretty much ready to go. So everyone was like, we're going to have 2025 as the last code iteration until we basically have this new framework in place that we will then pick up everything else again. I think the South Australian pause to the code was kind of they were the first movers on this, and then the national sort of pause has been like, no, let's just like do it all together. Look, I mean, we were coming out of COVID, we had NCC 2022, the 7-star change for a lot of builders was like a big change. You know, in South Australia, as you know, like a lot of builders were building to 3, 4, 5-star homes. And so for them, going from 3, 4, 5 stars to 7 stars is a huge jump. A lot of builders think they were going from 6 to 7. They were not. They were going from like a deemed to satisfy sort of tick box assessment to 7 stars, because 7 stars is pretty much equal across the deemed to satisfy and 7-star outcomes. Whereas back in 2019, when we had 6 stars, deemed to satisfy, which is just your tick box exercise, was a lot lower than 6 stars. And so verifications also another one I don't like to talk about, but is there as well. And so a lot of these builders were,
it was the only was the major way I got assessments through the building code, and it was 2, 3 stars sometimes back in the 2016 code, and then I was around when it switched to 2019, which upped the game a little bit, made things a little bit harder, but it's good to hear that they're more aligned now, because they were not before.
Yeah, they're much more aligned. I mean, you still do get variation between them, which, I mean, at the end of the day, they're different methods, so that you can expect some kind of variation. But to be like 3 or 4 star different to the 6-star standard was pretty poor. And, some builders that I've spoken to that see a 7-star rating and the specs that go with that, and they're like, wow, we didn't think 7 stars would be so much. I say to them, hey, look, actually we need to acknowledge that you were never at 6 stars to begin with. You were at 4 or 5 stars, and now you're making the jump to 7 stars because you want to do better for your clients. Like, you want to deliver a better home. That's awesome. But let's just remember that you're actually making a bigger jump than you think you're making. And so that's a conversation I've had with a lot of builders, especially in South Australia, that have gone through that process of upskilling and becoming 7-star builders and beyond. And yeah, it is a tough challenge to go to that jump when we sort of consider what the old codes were like. And I think, over time, like, I'm quite optimistic. I think we will get to a place that a good outcome can be done through the code. But yeah, that's the big thing is currently we're going through this process of modernizing and simplifying the construction code. And so 2025 will be the last version we get until that has been done. And 2029 has been sort of that target date of having it all sort of wrapped up, really. And we've gone through a couple of like peer sort of review processes at the moment. Again, I can provide another document that has a really good insight into some of those components that will be changed. Like, there's 5 sort of key components that they're talking about. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but they're quite interesting to read through. So I can provide that information for you as well.
That would be great. Thank you for clarifying all of that, Ben. I've been asked many times and I haven't been able to answer. So now I feel like I've got a better grip on it.
Look, I mean,
and hopefully the listener does too.
I posted this on LinkedIn not too long ago, but I am working across 2019, like the NCC 2019, NCC 2022, and NCC 2025. Like, I'm working across 3 code iterations, and
wow.
It's a real challenge, and I don't think it needs to. Obviously, it doesn't need to be like that, but it is like that at the moment, and it's tough. So yeah, it's always I mean, it's confusing. That's just what it is.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And you said that Victoria's already got 25. They got that this year.
Yeah, they were pretty
26.
That was a big industry surprise that they actually pushed through and actually made it.
They got blindsided a little bit. Yeah, but they can apply to use 2022.
They can apply to use 2022 under Section 10, which is a form they can fill out, but they have to sort of prove and showcase that they've done considerable amount of design and work on the project under the previous code. So it is possible to go back to 2022. Although, again, I will link to my article on this. My argument is it's actually better for you not to do that, because NCC 2022 had a...
What year are we in again? Oh my goodness.
We're in year 2026. So, but like the NCC 2022 had some.
I might
do
a funny reel of this discussion and just like pick out all the years that we've been mentioning.
You should, you should. That was. Do you remember when I was doing like when 2022 was a thing? Like when we were talking about the transition to 2022, I had a presentation that I was going around to architects giving in South Australia that was named NCC 2022 in 2024. So this has been an ongoing joke I have had for a long time, because now we're in 2026 and we're talking about NCC 2022 and NCC 2025, and then next year maybe you could go to some of your clients in South Australia talking about 2025 in 2027. Like you're doing it again. Like we're doing it all over again. Like so that's crazy. Yeah. But no, my argument for like a lot of Victorian builders and architects is actually to just scrap NCC 2022 and just go straight to 2025, because it is actually a better code. It's a better code, and a lot of the issues that NCC 2022 brought into our world are actually resolved. Like a lot of them are resolved and refined, and just made better. Like NCC 2025 is just fundamentally, objectively a better code than NCC 2022. And to be honest, that can be applied everywhere. Like even in South Australia, it's actually better maybe just to go to 2025 and sort of just skip 2022. Like that has been kind of my thoughts on it, where like you could just skip 2022 and just go straight to 2025 and you'll be fine, because not much changes, but a lot of clarity happens, and that's where the
in
the
residential
key difference is there. In residential, yeah.
In residential, class 1. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, commercial's not my sort of wheelhouse, so I don't tend to talk too much about commercial.
Yep. Just wanted to clarify. So let's go to the other topic we love to talk about is Passive House. So you were at the recent Thrive Passive House conference. You've been to a couple of these now? 2 or 3?
That was my second.
2? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. What were your main takeaways from this year?
I had lots, actually. I think this year was a really good Thrive event. Last year was also really good as well, but this year's was fun. For me, the biggest one was we had volume builders in the room. So we had Metricon, Keaton, and Fraser Property Group, or Fraser's Property.
Yeah.
And all 3 of those are big builders that have a very specific clientele or customer segment that they target. You know, Keaton is retirees, and often they sell some of the homes, but they also keep some of the homes. Then there's Metricon, who obviously just a volume sort of first home buyer, second home buyer, third home buyer type of builder. And then Fraser Property Group, I don't have a lot of knowledge on them, but again, they sort of play in that same space as Metricon. And for me, that was like the biggest part, was we had volume builders in the room. And I think a lot of people who have been to many more Passive House conferences were probably as happy as I was, like, to see that Passive House is in the mainstream. And we're talking volume builders actually sort of experimenting with Passive House. So that was like one of the biggest ones for me, was that part. And they had some really valuable insights from, you know, airtightness has a sweet spot to it. The HRV and the ventilation sort of come part and part with that, which was really cool. That was Fraser Property Group, that their insights were like really, really great. That the cost effectiveness of airtightness sort of has a bit of a sweet spot, and their sort of sweet spot and their experimentation was about 2 air changes per hour. Then, you know, Metricon sort of showcased that the fundamentals of good design actually like really matter. Who would have thought that good fundamental design.
Passive solar, do you mean?
Passive solar, like using the sun to your advantage, you know, having good natural pathways for ventilation actually help make a home more healthy and comfortable. So that was like great, because probably everyone in that room kind of knows that. But obviously we gear our suburbs towards volume and not really good design, and so that's where Metricon are maybe taking a step back, or these volume builders might take a step back and recognize that where their cost premiums come from is actually in the design phase and not so much the like sort of specification and the construction. And then that sort of was like kind of echoed in the Keaton project as well. They kind of picked the worst building out of all of the buildings in this suburb to do Passive House on, and it cost them a premium to do, and they had to change the design, they had to change like all these things, and it ended up being quite challenging for them to do. But this is like the first step. Like, you know, we have many more steps to go, and I think like it's awesome that they're even in the room sharing their feedback. Like, that's incredible. It's a vulnerable action, because you know, you are up there, you're in the arena trying to do things differently and set a new standard. So hats off to them for actually like being there. I think it's super inspiring, and hopefully they make it like a big thing on their socials, and where, you know, HIA, obviously they're going to be quite big in those spaces. So retrofits, like that was another one. Lots of retrofit. We had the retrofit month as well. Then we had sort of the retrofit handbook that's going to be developed. I think that's going to be bloody awesome. Keen as to sort of see what that looks like. Yeah, like there was just a lot of great things, and yeah, the retrofits I think are really, really important. You know, we have a lot of homes that are existing that need help, and deep energy retrofits just make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my two biggest takeaways were those as well. The Metricon, I've heard they were on the Sustainable Builders Yak podcast a few months ago. And so this was the second time I've seen them put their hand up and say, we're doing this, we want to do better. And I was surprised. I was very surprised because, to hear them on the podcast is one thing, but to see them put themselves in a room full of passive house professionals and put it out there that they were going to do it was admirable. Like, I respect that. And now we watch them do it, put their money where their mouth is, and set the example. And I really love that. And then the retrofit stuff, yeah, I think there's huge amounts. I haven't done a fit project yet. I had one that was teasing me, but this client hasn't come through yet. Maybe I should give her a call.
Follow up.
While I was, hey?
Fortunes in the follow-up.
Yeah, yeah. World's worst saleswoman right here. As I was sitting there, I was feeling really, really inspired because I've just bought a place, as you know, in the tropics in Far North Queensland. And I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna, I started modeling my house in the passive in Design PH while I was sitting there. Because I was like, I'm going to see if I can get it to comply with the NFIT standard. Haven't got there yet, but I started while I was sitting in the room. And I thought, while I'm at it, I got out one of my current projects and just thought I would see what would happen to the numbers if I changed the climate zone. And this project is currently in Adelaide, and I just changed the climate zone from Adelaide to Cairns. And the heating demand went to zero. Cooling demand went from 6 kilowatt hours per square meter per annum to 118 or something like that, just by changing the climate zone. And the overheating was 70%, humidity was 70 kilograms. Well, I forget the metric of that now, but just by changing that climate in the software package just shows you how what extreme differences we've got here in Australia and what we have to manage when we design between climate zones. And speaking of the tropics, you've been spending a bit of time in Malaysia lately. So
yes, I'm here right now. Actually, that's where I'm calling in from.
Awesome. Another international guest. How has your time in Malaysia changed your thoughts on building performance? What are buildings like there? It's time for a quick sponsor shout out. Today's episode of the Building Sciology Poddy is proudly brought to you by our amazing sponsors, Enduro Builders and Climasure. A huge thank you to these incredible businesses for supporting the podcast and helping us spread the word about better buildings to live and breathe in. Your support makes this podcast possible. Please head over to their websites and follow their social pages.
Actually, kind of this overlaps a lot with the first question we chatted about, the fatherhood and sort of the marriage part and the changing perspectives. And it kind of hasn't. It's only made me sort of more convicted and more a bigger believer, but also a bigger action taker into sort of what can we do, because they also have a problem here as well. Rooms are comfortable only when the air conditioner's on, and rooms, if they're not air conditioned, they're outside of those comfort bands that you would sort of expect
the same in Cairns.
Comfortable room and home to be in. But then they have the ability to put solar panels all over the roof and run the air cons all day. So, but then if you're going to air condition the home, well, you may as well make it airtight and sort of unsusceptible to mold and moisture issues, which is again another problem that they have here. So all of those physics problems are the same. They just manifest differently because you're in a different climate with different attributes. And so it's similar to what your experiment was with moving a house from Adelaide to Queensland sort of did. We're dealing with the same problems. And something I've sort of joked about before, which is probably not too far from the truth, is I could pick up a town, because they've been developing a lot, and there's townhouses, and I see these townhouses. I'm like, oh my God, that's like a townhouse development you could see in Adelaide or you could see in Melbourne. And you could pick up the design and plonk it into Melbourne. All you have to do is change it from thermally massive construction of concrete and bricks and cinder blocks and all that kind of stuff to timber frame construction, and the design is the same. Like it's the same, like single glazed aluminium, all those kinds of things. They do use tint on the windows, which is great, so there is some solar heat gain coefficient being like manipulated, but yeah, it's the same problem. And the Malaysian sort of vernacular architecture is pretty much like, going back hundreds of years ago, is pretty much the same as a Queenslander on stilts. They have like really deep eaves and verandas, louver, sort of timber louvers, lightweight construction, stilts. It's the same as a Queenslander. And so I always find it super interesting where, like, philosophy and mathematics, that like all these going back in history, all these different people who had no communication with each other, all kind of like came to the same answer. So philosophy, mathematics, then architecture. Okay, they're designed with the climate and like the way they shield from their sort of natural habitat is they all came to like a similar answer. And so I always find that super, super interesting that we've sort of gone away from this like climate first thinking. And instead we just put heat pumps on everything. Driving around Kuala Lumpur, there are apartment buildings with walls of heat pumps on one facade. Like it's an elevation just of heat pumps.
Yeah, wow.
And it's incredible. It's ugly, and it's the only way these occupants can stay like at all comfortable in that building. So yeah, they have the same problems, again, just manifested slightly differently. And so that again sort of has helped me understand that it's not just Australia that faces these problems. Like there's a lot of places in the world that have these problems. Even traveling in China, hotels are the same, like, things like that. So yeah, my perspective, I guess, has kind of like just been broadened, but I have that same sort of like, we're here to do something positive, like, and we're going to help do that through sort of what we both do every day. So
yeah. It's definitely challenging switching to the tropics. What you're saying about Malaysia is very similar to Cairns. You're mentioning the heavyweight like blockwork buildings and how they must be air conditioned all day, every day to be comfortable. Then there's also the Queenslander style buildings that also need to be air conditioned all day, every day. And there's these two very different constructions, and neither of them are comfortable. So somewhere along the line, no one's thought on a broad scale how to fix the comfort problem, but they're very focused on, rightly so, the flooding issues and the cyclone issues.
And they're important. They're important issues. Like they're things that we should be doing as well. But there's also the holistic part. Yeah, the holistic part of living in a home that's also comfortable is also something that's positive to a human life. I remember this. This was a really distinct sort of memory when I was here in Malaysia in the past. I only just got here on Monday, but I remember sort of we were out all day and we went into like a family member's home, and I kind of just like had this like real nerd moment because I'm just like, oh my God, I just know what the problems are in this house. And because the sun had
like,
been hitting...
Straight away, I can tell.
Straight away, you just know, right? Yeah. From your experience, your expertise, all that kind of stuff. But, and then obviously I'm trying to talk to whoever will listen to me as well. Like that's where I'm like, I'm having a moment where like all of a sudden I'm like, can I talk to you about this problem? Can I talk to you about this problem? And then eventually you run out of people to talk to, right? But and then I'm stuck. Then my wife is stuck with me listening to me talking about these things. But like the house had been left all day by itself and was like closed up, and the sun had been just like basically pounding this house, roofs, walls, windows, etc. And because the walls are like 300, 400 thick, and they're just solid mass. It's just brick or block work and concrete.
Caulfield concrete,
those walls are just absorbing so much thermal energy throughout the day that as soon as the sun goes down, it radiates inwards because that's where we then get home and turn the aircon on. And because of that, we're actually absorbing all of that heat into into us, like that. It's all radiating inwards. And I could feel it on the walls. I was like, oh, yes, look, feel how hot these walls are, right? And so there's no insulation.
The aircon's working overtime to try and cool that down.
Every room has turned their aircon on because that's what we got to do. Super high ceiling. So like there's lots of volume for this aircon to also cool. And it just, and that is day in, day out. And there's no reprieve from that here in Malaysia. You don't have like a winter period where the dynamics change. It's just constant every day. And so these walls are just like, if your phone imagine your phone never losing charge. Like that's what these walls are basically experiencing is they're fully charged all the time. And it's just super uncomfortable. I went in there and I was hotter inside than I was outside. And that's reversed of an Australian home where I'm colder inside the house than I am outside the house. You know, my brother and sister have just moved into a rental property in Adelaide, and it is exactly like that. They're colder inside the house than they are outside the house. And in this instance, I was hotter inside the house than outside. So there's the same things, but just obviously in a reversed fashion. And so, like these things, they can be solved because we've solved them and we know how to solve them. So it's like, let's do it. Like, how do we do it?
Well, I guess these are the kinds of topics you talk about on Centrifuge, on your new podcast. So tell us about how that was born and what it's all about.
I really, really like Marcus Strang and Alex Slater. They're both absolute legends of the game.
Top blokes. Both have been guests on this show. Go back and listen to their episodes.
And when I moved over to Victoria and Melbourne, I ended up sort of working in the Hip Hype office for a bit. So I got to know Marcus quite well. And then I sort of switched co-work space and went into this one a little bit more sort of central in Brunswick. And turned out that I actually sort of joined this co-work space and it's 5 minutes away from Alex Slater's house. And so I started catching up with him as well. And then I was like, oh, we should all three of us catch up and get a coffee and whatnot. And so we did that a few times. And one day we were kind of just all like, should we start a podcast? Should we just record our conversations? And we're all just like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do that. Because we end up like with these weird, wacky conversations that kind of just like go everywhere and anywhere. And it's just so much fun to just like, just talk about whatever we kind of feel like talking about. So that's kind of been the idea of Centrifuge. Like the name obviously was just like kind of just came to us and it's like just stuck really.
So Centrifuge with a PH.
Yeah, so Passive House obviously is what kind of like is our common ground. And then we sort of have like, we all like talking about philosophy, which is a PH. And, you know, like, we're like, oh, we could do like different things like that. So anything kind of with like a PH, but also like, we just like to have fun, which is spelt PHUN. So it's like, we're just kind of like having a bit of fun with it. Like, I don't know.
According to Alex Slater.
Yeah, according to Alex Slater, who's an absolute comedian on his own. But so we're just kind of having a little bit of fun with it. It's not something serious at all. Like, and who knows what it might turn into. We have no idea. We have no goals with it. It's just something a little bit fun, not too serious, maybe just a different take on the industry's like way of talking about things and sort of, just having our own conversations. And if someone wants to tune in, that's pretty awesome, but you know, it's not necessary. So
three absolute top-notch building science geeks talking. I love it.
We've got nothing on your podcast though. You're awesome and amazing. Maybe we should have you on for a chat.
So are you going to have guests on yours, or are you just going to have the three of you?
I think we want to. I think we should, and we will. Yeah.
Well, I'm keen.
Yeah.
Count me in.
We'll sign you up. We'll lock you into a calendar slot.
Done.
And that's again like we have no schedule on it as well. Like that's also another part is like we're kind of just like on a WhatsApp chat group and we're like, hey guys, should we organize one for this week or like so? And now I'm in Malaysia currently, so we're gonna sort of switch over to Zoom. So we're gonna have like cameras and we can like sort of change it up and do all that kind of stuff as well. So again, who knows?
Yeah, stay flexible. Yeah, no, that's really awesome. The more people talking about this and putting it on the sound waves, the better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as I said at the beginning, you've come a really long way and I met you, I can't even think how many years ago now. Probably,
Lots. I
I don't
think it
know,
would have been. It would have been
6,
probably 2019 or 2018. I reckon. Probably 2019.
so 6, maybe 7 years ago. And you were an architect working for a volume builder, graduate architect who, you know, had an interest in sustainability, but didn't know how to make it your career. And we crossed paths, and now here you are. You've just learned so much in the last few years, and you've made an entire business out of it for yourself. And we've talked about your podcast and, you know, crossing over climates and deep dives into the NCC, and you've come so far. Looking back at the difference, like from now to when I met you or when you graduated from architecture, what is the difference? Like, what was your biggest aha moment, do you think, along that way?
There's been lots of moments. Lots and lots of moments. I always reflect back on like what kind of like triggered my curiosity, which was the story of me sort of in a $1.5 million townhouse while I was sort of working as a graduate of architecture, and sort of helping get like a lot of these projects and townhouses approved and getting the engineering, doing the energy report, like coordinating these projects from sort of start to finish with my with the architect that I worked under. And yeah, I always sort of remember that moment when I went into this home that was $1.5 million pre-COVID, and walking up a 3-story townhouse to sort of really kind of feel the same that I did in my own 50-year-old home that I sort of went home to every night. And not really feeling any different, like in terms of, sure, it's got some nice finishes, but generally like it's kind of the same, and not much has changed. And I remember flexing the windows, the single glazed aluminium windows, and I was just like, I went home and kind of did the same on my own windows, and I was like, what are we doing here? Like,
what are we paying for here?
Yeah, what are the clients paying for? Obviously, they're getting a beautiful, well constructed home because that's what we did. We did great construction and like did everything as we needed to. But yeah, there was just these things that kind of were just like little like seeds that kind of drew me into like the curiousness of like what we're doing. And that then sort of led me on to like the sustainability. Well, I always had a passion in sustainability, but it was more of like a curiosity to go back to that sort of train of thought. And that's kind of just what spiraled me into here in a way. And then I think I met you at that sort of moment in time. And I remember you sort of coming. You did appear at the right time. It was meant to be. Like these things are always meant to be. But I remember like meeting you, and you were talking about this like platform that helps architects or designers sort of quickly iterate different systems and ratings and things like that. And I was like, oh, ratings, like what's a rating? And then we sort of went down that path and then this path. And then I think like I was like, all right, I'm ready to like look for a new job. I kind of want to work in sustainability. And then I think I found a job that you advertised for, and I hit you up and you sort of got me in, and then kind of just went from there. So like, and then when I was in Victoria, like I had a similar sort of experience where I moved into this really old home, like weatherboard, sort of shack. I always called it a weatherboard shack because that's kind of what it was. You could just put it next to the river, the Murray River, and it'd be the same. And this is about like 50, maybe 100 years old, this home. And again, it's super cold, all this kind of stuff. But then I moved into a 2019, pretty much brand new apartment, a few months later, 6 months later. And again, I was like, there is zero difference between this and a home that's 100 years old. Like condensation, cold, hot in summer, like, not that great of indoor air quality. So it's like all the same things. And I was just like, again, like, this is why I do what I do. And because we're still sort of butting up against the same problems. So it's not, there has been a few of those moments that I am super grateful for, like meeting you and obviously having these sort of like physical, visceral moments in an actual home and sort of being able to compare them and having the sort of curiosity to be able to like look beneath the surface of those. But it's just been a process of continual evolution, really just being curious, like following the passion, asking why, like, and that would be like my biggest maybe piece of advice to like a younger self is just like be curious and just like follow that passion, because that's where it's led me to, and I'm like super grateful for that.
Yeah, I think you're a naturally curious cat. You're a curious cat anyway.
I am.
And
Why is
clever.
there a Batman here? But
hey, I had noticed Batman. I wasn't going to mention, if you're watching on the YouTubes or on Spotify video, you'll see that Ben has a Batman in his background. But if you're on the audio waves, you won't know. But now they all know.
Now they know. Now everyone knows. They can picture what it might look like if they don't see. So
just go check it out on YouTube. And speaking of how clever you are, you've been using AI in all sorts of fancy ways in your business. Can you tell us a bit about what you've been up to with that? Because I can use an AI chat. That's about it.
How long do we have?
Well, as long as it takes, I guess. Just try and keep it to the succinct version.
Okay. Yeah, that has been my curious obsession for sure. How do I use AI effectively in my business has been the question I've been asking myself, because it's here, it's not going away, and yeah, it is an unlocker of probably an incredible amount of productivity that we do need as a society, not just our industry, but generally our society as well. One of the breakthroughs for me in thinking about how to use AI was actually getting out of the chat interface. The chat interface is great, but it's also what I personally found, and this might not be true for everyone, but I found that when I was talking with the AI through the chat interface, I would often find myself talking and not doing a lot of stuff, like not doing anything. I would be just talking about something and then you'd close it and you'd kind of move on. And I was just like, this kind of feels like a bit silly. Like I kind of am talking through things, but then nothing kind of gets done. And then you talk about something else and nothing gets done. And you kind of have this, I sort of noticed this like illusion of like doing stuff. Like I was like, oh, I feel so good. I'm like doing something, but I'm not like actually doing anything. And it's only until I really was like, how is that solvable? Like how can I move past that then I sort of found Claude Code, and like actually having this AI sort of agent thing do stuff for me. Like it can actually do stuff on your computer. And the way computers work is just code. Code is how computers work, and that's what AI agents are really good at, is like writing code and executing code. And I was just like, that was the big unlock for me, because everything kind of in business is like really at the bottom of it is just code. And that has been like kind of the eye-opening moment and the aha moment of that particular process, was how to like embed it into the business and doing things for me. And it was taking it out of that chat interface. So without sort of going, I don't want to overwhelm and like going down too much of a tangent, but like ask yourself, like, how can I actually move my AI surface area to not be in a chatbot, and how do I move it into a place where I can actually do stuff with it? And that was like the first step for me, was Claude Code and like actually using that. So from there, like I was like, oh my God, I can actually code stuff now. So I went from this place of never being able to code anything to a place of being able to code stuff, which opens up the amount of possibilities that we have. Like I like to think of it as like a new frontier kind of thing, where we have three components. We have firstly like domain expertise, like you and I have that, and other professionals listening to this have their own expertise and domain. Then we have like use cases and data. So we all generate data through our day-to-day sort of jobs. So you make a decision for a client, or you present an option for them, like that's a data point. Then all of a sudden we have like the ability to code. So you don't have to go to someone who knows how to code to build something. You can actually just use an AI agent to do that. And then those three things combine to create this sort of like new world that I look at things like, how can I then apply it to my business and turn it into this sort of new world mechanism? So it's a long-winded answer of saying that the way business sort of changes. I'm happy to like chat with anyone who wants to chat about this thing. So you could like reach out to me. My email is ben@arkata.com. So ben@arkata.com. And yeah, like I would love to chat with anyone, whoever wants to chat about it. But like as an example, I like to write window schedules for my clients and people who get their reports. So they know, okay, this spec goes to this window and this spec goes to this window. It's like a nice schedule. The only problem with that is they take a little bit to write when they're manually done. So that was actually the first thing that I built a bit of code for. And all I have to do now is point this piece of code at 2 CSVs, and then it can merge them and create my window schedule, and then it produces the window schedule. And that was a process that might have taken me 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many windows and how complex the design was. It now takes 5 minutes. And that's huge because now it's better, more consistent, and it looks great. So like I always sort of recommend like, yeah, the first step is actually taking that AI workspace out of chat and into like your own computer. And then the next step is actually just automating something that is tedious. Something that's tedious, but is like it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be anything. But just doing that, then your brain is like, oh, wow, okay, I can see what I can do now. And then you sort of start to like map out all these other projects that you have, which is what I've been doing. Because it doesn't stop at the first one, I'll tell you that. But the window schedule one was like such an eye-opening experience of like, what possibilities do we have now in front of us that we didn't have before? That makes the way that we deliver our work better, but also has more reach and more use case for everyone that's also involved in that process. So yeah, that's been like the big thing is like AI. It helps with a lot of stuff. And yeah, taking it out of sort of that chat space is like really critical.
Yeah. I might have to hit you up, get some coaching from you because I'm still a baby AI user.
I was thinking I should start a service line for like AI consultancy because I've gone down the rabbit hole and it's like it's really effective. I've actually even so much so that I've bought myself like the little AI supercomputer, and now I run the AI sort of locally. Well, I don't have it yet, but I will run the AI locally because one of my biggest concerns is. You see it in LinkedIn and Instagram. And again, this is amazing that we're doing this kind of stuff because we need the productivity boost. But I do worry that our industry and maybe other industries, they become dependent on Claude and Anthropic or OpenAI and ChatGPT. Like what happens if one day they're not there? Like, do we then lose all that productivity? So for me, like the next step beyond that, again, this is multiple steps down the path, but it is actually sort of like taking ownership of the AI as well, because it's possible to do it in your own computer or on your own hardware as well.
Yeah, wow. Wowee. I know that is not building science related to anyone who's confused as to why we're talking about AI, but it's science related and it's business related. So I'm sure there are many, many business owners out there listening to this. And so that is why it's really interesting and very relevant. Very relevant to our society right now and our work. So what are your plans moving forward for Arkata then, apart from developing your own AI and continuing to grow that?
Lots. No, I'm lately I've been really pumped with with all the outcomes we've been achieving through Arkata. Like I sort of thought about this at the beginning, but a lot of those earlier years or the first 2 years, so I'm in my 3rd year now, were about just setting up the systems and getting the sort of offer, like hitting that mark of where the value is and where we can sort of make great outcomes. And I kind of knew like I'm not going to get much feedback until later on when these homes starting to get built. And that's what we're starting to see now is like these homes actually being built and, eventually people will live in them. So it's an exciting time because a lot of that work we did previously is now starting to get built, which I went to a house, a couple of weeks ago, and it was just awesome to see like these decisions that we make early and then a builder sort of executes on site. just seeing those things come to fruition is just like so rewarding. So yeah, it's a super exciting time. But the big thing for me, the next step is actually going to be high growth thermal modeling. So I've signed up with the Pro Climber courses to do the woofie training and to really upskill myself into that space, because that really is the third piece. You've got passive house, nat hers, then I think high growth thermal capability and actually doing the moisture assessments is the final piece for me as a professional. Like, that's obviously, for now, there's always another piece later on. But that's the big one for me, I think, is going to be that moisture. So that's something we'll be offering moving forward. And to be honest, like similar to my other services, I tend to just bundle all these things in, and they just become, you're delivering high performance. You're coming to me for high performance and I'm helping you deliver high performance. I don't sort of like say, yeah, we can add this on and add this on. Generally, my strategy and the business model has been, I bundle it all together and we just deliver the outcomes that you're looking for. So that's going to continue to happen. And then the last piece for me, like the super exciting piece, is like the Malaysian space. So, meeting architects locally, starting that conversation here about how can we help. Where are the problems in the supply chain or the processes that we have, and how can I help? Like, is there anything I can help with? Like, how can we move forward and sort of build to passive house, but also just have more healthy, comfortable homes is super exciting as well.
I'm very excited to see where you go from here, Ben, because you've come so far already and you've done it with such professionalism and energy, and you're a very, very valuable consultant.
Thank you, Jess. I mean, like I was saying before, I owe a lot to you because you helped me sort of unlock this path. So we were meant to meet that day and work together for a bit and then remain good friends. So yeah, I appreciate you a lot. So thanks for having me on again.
I appreciate you too. Final question I ask everybody, you know what it is. What is the one most important thing you've learned in your career that you want the listener to know? And I forget what it was for the first time we had this chat, but do you think it would have changed since then?
I can't remember either. Oh no, I should have done my homework a bit more. Yeah, interesting. I wonder what that answer would be.
Pulling up the transcript.
You're gonna tell me, or should I answer first?
No, you go. You answer.
What was the sorry, repeat the question again for me.
What is the one thing you want the listener to know that you've learned in your career? Actually, I don't think I asked this question. I think I started asking this question after we had our chat. This was introduced as my final question later.
You were just figuring things out when you.
So it's just finding my feet.
You were finding
when we had
our. Now you're firing.
So now you get to answer.
Okay.
Add your wisdom to the pot.
I might actually just go like super technical and say that when I learned in the Passive House course that the WERS database is kind of like a fixed value of U values, even if the window is really big or if it's really small. And actually that's not true, right? So the frame fraction might be bigger, or is going to be bigger, when the window is smaller and there's less glass. You have more frame. So the U value performance is actually different. But coming back to that whole, Nat Hers is designed around scaling energy efficiency to 200,000 homes a year. We have these sort of like simplifications, and it really sort of made sense to me that this like building physics and science is a thing, and the WERS and the Nat Hers space is about scaling those systems out to as many homes as possible. And so that was a really like light bulb moment for me, because I kind of didn't really ever sort of think about that. And so that was like the big thing for me, is that if you're designing sort of single pane, or not single pane, but like simple windows, you're going to get a better U value out of those, rather than like big windows with like lots of mullions and transoms, and like splitting the windows up into different smaller sections actually punishes you. You're better off just having a sort of a picture frame window. And now I see so much beauty in intentional, simple windows rather than big expanses of glass. And that's something that I've really like sort of reflected on a lot since I learned that, because it kind of had shifted the way I kind of all think about that. And so when I do optimize in Nat Hers, it's not something I just think about as like, what's the U value in SHGC? It's like, why are we splitting this window up so much? Can we just make it a bit simpler? Is something I now sort of think about. And so that would probably be my most nerdy answer to that question. I don't know why it just came to my mind, but
it's a unique answer. And I appreciate it, because there's so much misunderstanding about how windows work, even between single glazing, double glazing, triple glazing. People think that double glazing is one level of performance, and there are thousands of levels of performance of different double glazing assemblies. So thank you for shedding a little bit of light on windows.
So my more philosophical
really...
answer would be just to be curious, and just follow where that obsession is, and be okay with sort of going down a rabbit hole. Who knows where it might take you.
Thanks, Ben. Always a pleasure talking to you.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on again.
No worries. Bye. That is all for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. There'll be another episode in a fortnight, so if you would like to listen into the types of conversations that I have all the time, please subscribe on your chosen platform. Rate the show, leave a comment, whatever you like, share with your friends and family. I'd love for you to spread the word about the Building Sciology Potty. There's a link in the episode description where you can head to a landing page, and there are some show notes there with relevant links and a full transcript of the show as well, and also links to my socials. So if you're not already, I'd love for you to follow along there too, as I share lots of building science and building biology tips. Thanks again. I'll be back in 2 weeks, so until then, happy healthy building.